Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I'm going to show you how to crochet this owl themed bowl. So if you'd like the written pattern, it's on my website. I'll leave a link in the description below. As you can see, I've put my crochet hooks in mine and it's quite sturdy and it holds its shape quite well as long as your crochet isn't too loose. So if you've never crocheted before, I'd recommend you watch my earlier videos about how to do single crochet and how to crochet in the round. So you're going to need double knit yarn in beige and light brown, and also in bright yellow and dark brown and black. You'll need a 3mm crochet hook, some scissors, a yarn needle, a stitch marker, and some pins to help with sewing. So we're going to start with the main piece in beige and we're going to make a magic ring. And we'll just take that short tail out and put it by the side. And we will do 6 single crochet in the magic ring. So all the stitches go underneath those 2 strands. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you can count the V's to count your stitches. And pull tight to close the magic ring. So we lift up the hook and put our stitch marker in. So round 2 we're going to increase in every stitch, and an increase is 2 single crochet in 1 stitch. So we'll have 12 stitches at the end of this round. So there's the first one, and then the second one in the same stitch. And you can just pull on that tail if the magic ring comes a bit loose. Normally only does that at the start. So we take the marker out and do our last increase. And then put our marker back in. So round 3 we're going to single crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to increase in the next stitch, and we're going to do that 6 times. So the part in brackets is done the number of times stated, and we'll have 18 stitches at the end of this round. So we're increasing in multiples of 6. And then we take the marker out and do our last increase. So round 4, we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to increase in the next stitch, and we're going to do this 6 times, and at the end of the round we'll have 24 stitches. So I'm just going to speed this bit up to show you how this is done. You can pause the video if you like and finish this round. Okay, so rounds 5 to 7, I put the instructions on the screen. You can pause the video and I'll meet you back at the end of round 7. For round 8, we're going to be working the back loop only. So this is the front loop because it's closest to us, and this is the back loop because it's furthest away from us, and we're going to be working in these loops. So we're going to go into the stitch and make a single crochet just in the same way as we normally would, and we're going to single crochet in the next 6 stitches, then we're going to increase in the next stitch, and we're going to do that 6 times until we have 48 stitches. So it's exactly the same, except we're only going through one of the loops instead of 2. So every stitch goes into the back loop. And the reason we're working in the back loops only is because this is what makes the crochet change direction and starts moving up to create the sides of our bowl. So I've come to the end of round 8 now. I'm just going to take the marker out and do the last increase. And then put the marker back in. So you can see that the sides are forming now. Now we're back to working through both loops as normal. So I put the instructions on the screen for rounds 9 and 10, and you can pause the video and I'll meet you back at the end of round 10. So rounds 11 to 12, that's 2 rounds. We're going to single crochet in every stitch. So we're not increasing or decreasing, we're just maintaining 60 stitches. So you can pause the video and I'll meet you back. So I've just finished those 2 rounds. Now round 13, we're going to single crochet in the next 18 stitches, and then we're going to do an invisible decrease. And we're going to do that 3 times so that we have 57 stitches. So I'm going to show you how to do the invisible decrease. So first of all, we'll do our 18 single crochet. Okay, so we'll just count them to make sure. And then to do an invisible decrease, we're going to be using the front loops only. So we pick up the front loop of the next stitch, and then we point our hook down and pick up the front loop of the next stitch. So now we've got 3 loops on our hook, and we yarn over and we pull through those first 2 loops. You can pull through one first and then the next one if it makes it easier. Now we've got 2 loops on our hook, and we yarn over and pull through both loops in the same way that we would a normal single crochet. So that's an invisible decrease. You can see that it leaves a diagonal piece at the side, and we want to be careful that we don't go into that, we go into the next stitch, so underneath the V shape as normal. So now we're going to do 18 single crochet again, and then another invisible decrease. So I'll just speed this up, and then I'll show you how to do the invisible decrease again. So the invisible decrease is not actually completely invisible. There is a difference, so you can see the bit at the base is different to how a normal single crochet looks. And also you can see on the inside that those back loops have been left over. So once you can identify the invisible decrease, then you can count the single crochet and make sure that you've got the right number in between your decreases. So there's the decrease, and then we can count 18 single crochet after that. And then we do another invisible decrease. So pick up the first loop and then the next loop, yarn over and pull through both loops, yarn over and pull through both loops. And then we do this one more time. So I just speed this bit up to show you. You can pause the video. Okay, so now we've got 2 stitches remaining, so we take out the marker and we do our last invisible decrease. So you can reshape the sides, and you can see it's got our base. So I put the instructions on the screen for rounds 14 to 25. You can pause the video and work your way through, and I'll meet you back at the end of round 25. So I've just finished all of those rounds. And you can count, you can see your invisible decrease, and you can count 3 rounds after that. Now what we're going to do is make a slip stitch in the next stitch. So push the hook in, yarn over and pull through, and then pull that loop through the loop on the hook, and then you can take your marker out. And what that does is it just rounds it off so that it's more like a gentle slope rather than a step up. So then we fasten off. So that's a bit like chaining, except we just pull it all the way through. And we thread that tail onto the needle. Then we're going to weave down through that one loop, and then we're going to pick up loops from the back of those single crochet stitches and weave it in for about 5 or 6 stitches. And then we're going to go down to the next round and weave in the opposite direction. And this just makes it a bit more secure. And then we trim that tail close to the edge of the work. And now we've made our main piece. So now we're going to make the eyes. So both eyes are made exactly the same. So we make a magic ring in black. And then we make 6 single crochet in the magic ring. But as we finish the last single crochet, we're going to change to yellow. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we get our yellow, just have it ready, and then we start the single crochet. So we pull up that loop and we hold that in place, and then we make a loop with the yellow yarn and we pull that loop through both of those loops. And now we've completed that single crochet and we've changed to yellow. So then we close the magic ring. So you pull tight on that short end and just pull those other ends as well so that everything's tight again. And now we're going to be working in yellow. So round 2, we're going to slip stitch in the first stitch. So we push the hook in, yarn over and pull through, and then pull through the loop on the hook. Then we're going to chain 1. I'm going to make 2 half double crochet in that same stitch. So we yarn over and then we push the hook into the stitch and we yarn over, pull through. Now we have 3 loops on the hook, and we yarn over and pull through all 3 loops of the hook, and that is a half double crochet. So we do another one, yarn over into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So we're going to do that in every stitch. We're going to do 2 half double crochet in every stitch. So yarn over into the stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So we'll have 12 stitches at the end of this round. And the slip stitch and the chain 1 don't count as stitches. So I'll just speed this bit up just to show you. So I've come to my last stitch now. So just do my last 2 half double crochet. And then to bridge that gap and join the round, we just make sure we pull that yellow tail to make sure everything's together. And then we're going to do a slip stitch in that first half double crochet, so the top of that first half double crochet. And then we leave a bit of a tail for sewing, cut the yarn and fasten off. And we can also cut the black yarn. And then we're going to tie those 2 black tails in a double knot at the back. and then we're going to thread them onto the needle and weave in all of these ends, picking up loops from the back of those half double crochet stitches. And you can just go around for several stitches and then cut the yarn close to the work, and we do exactly the same with the black tails, and we're leaving that long yellow tail for sewing. Okay, so now we're going to make the nose in black. So we make a magic ring, and then we're going to do 8 single crochet in the magic ring. So I've sped this bit up just to show you. You can pause the video if you like. So we count, make sure we've got 8, and we pull tight to close the magic ring, and then we're going to slip stitch in that first single crochet. And then we're going to leave a tail for sewing. Then we're going to squash the sides together so that it's more like an oval shape. So now we're going to make the eyebrows. So the right eyebrow is different from the left eyebrow. So we'll start with the right eyebrow first, and we make a slip knot. Put our hook in the slip knot, and then we'll chain 14. And you can count your chains just to make sure. And we're going to start in the 3rd chain from a hook. So we're going to make a double crochet. So we yarn over, push the hook into the side of that chain, yarn over and pull through. Now we have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Now we have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And that's a double crochet. Now we're going to make another double crochet in the next stitch. So we yarn over, push the hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2. Now we're going to make a half double crochet in the next 5 stitches. So it's exactly the same as with the eyes. We yarn over and we pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So again, yarn over into this stitch, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Okay, so we count them, make sure we got 5 half double crochet. Now we're going to make 3 double crochet all in the next stitch. So there's 1, and then into exactly the same space. There's 2. And the 3rd one. And what this does is it makes it change direction and curve around. So now we're going to half double crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to slip stitch in the last stitch. So then we leave a tail for sewing, and we cut the yarn, fasten off, and then we thread that short tail onto our needle and weave it into the back of the stitches. Be careful not to pull too tight because it will pull it out of shape. And then we trim the yarn. And now we're going to make the left eyebrow. So the left eyebrow is a reverse of the right eyebrow, but it is slightly different. So we want the right side of the stitches to be facing outwards when we sew them on. So that's why we have to do the reverse. So we chain 13. So we count the chains just to make sure. And we're going to start in the second stitch from the hook, and we're going to make a slip stitch in that stitch. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So there's 1, and 2. Then we're going to half double crochet in the next stitch. Then we're going to do our 3 double crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to half double crochet in the next 5 stitches. And then we're going to double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Then we're going to chain 2. And we're going to slip stitch in that same space where the slip knot starts. And now you can see that it's the reverse, so it's a mirror image. And we'll leave a tail for sewing and cut the yarn and fasten off. And then weave that short tail in the same way as we did with the other eyebrow. Now we're going to make the wings. So both wings are exactly the same. So we'll make a slip knot and we'll chain 13. And then starting in the second stitch from the hook, we're going to single crochet in the next 12 stitches. And then for row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn. So that is our turning chain. It doesn't count as a stitch. Now we're looking at the wrong side of the stitches, so the back. We're going to start in that first stitch and we're going to work in the front loops only, so the loop which is closest to us. And we're going to single crochet 2 together. So we go into the front loop, we yarn over and pull through. Now we have 2 loops on our hook, and then we go into the front loop of the next stitch and we yarn over and pull through. Now we have 3 loops on a hook and we yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and that is a single crochet 2 together done in the front loops only. So this whole row is going to be done in the front loops only. So then we single crochet in the next 8 stitches. And then we do another single crochet 2 together for the last 2 stitches. So now we've decreased by 2 and we have 10 stitches. So we chain 1 and turn, and you can see those loops remaining. So what we're going to do for all of the following rounds is we're going to alternate between working in the front loops only and then the back loops only, because we want all of the loops that are left over to all be on the same side so that we can use them later on to put our feathers on. So row 3, we're going to be working in the back loops only. So we're going to single crochet 2 together in exactly the same way as before. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 6 stitches. And then we'll do a single crochet 2 together. So we've decreased by 2 again, and we've got 8 stitches. So then we chain 1 and turn. So now for row 4, we're going to work in front loop only, and we're going to single crochet 2 together, single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and single crochet 2 together, and then we'll have 6 stitches at the end of this row. So we chain 1 and turn, and you can see our remaining loops all on the same side. And for row 5 we're going to work in the back loops only, and we're going to single crochet 2 together, single crochet in the next 2 stitch, and then single crochet 2 together, so that we have 4 stitches at the end of this row. So then we chain 1 and turn, and in the front loops only we single crochet 2 together twice, so that we just have 2 stitches remaining. So the wings are upside down triangles, and then once we finish this we're going to attach the feathers using those remaining loops. So there you can see all of the remaining loops are all on the same side. And you can count your rows just to make sure. So now we'll leave a tail for sewing, and we'll cut the yarn and fasten off. So we're going to find the first remaining loop on that row, which is on the widest end. And we're going to push the hook into that loop. Can be a bit fiddly to find it. We have the widest end closest to us, and then we push the hook into that loop, and we pull through a loop of the same colour, so light brown. And we just hold on to that, and then we chain 1, and we make a slip stitch in the same stitch. So just pull that loop through the loop on the hook. Now we're going to make 2 double crochet in the next stitch. So there's 1, and then another 1 in the same space. Now we're going to make a slip stitch in the next 3 stitches. So there's one. Two. And three. Now we're going to make 2 double crochet in the next stitch. Then we're going to slip stitch in the next 3 stitches. We're going to make 2 double crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch in the last stitch. And then we're going to leave a tail so that we can sew that in and cut the yarn and fasten off. So you can see that we've made 3 clusters there, like a wave shape. Now we'll just fold that down, and for the next row we're going to work in those remaining loops, and we find the first loop, and it's exactly the same as before. We pull through a loop and we chain 1, and we make a slip stitch in the same stitch, and 2 double crochet in the next stitch, and we slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, and then we make 2 double crochet in the next stitch, and slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, and then we make 2 double crochet in the next stitch, and then we slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. And again we cut the yarn, leaving a tail, so every row is slightly different because we have a different number of stitches, so we're trying to fit in these clusters, these shell shapes, in the number of stitches that we have. So row 3 is the same way to start. So we chain one and slip stitch in the same stitch, and make 2 double crochet in the next stitch, and then we slip stitch in the next 3 stitches, and then we make 2 double crochet in the next stitch, and we slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. And we cut the yarn and fasten off. So row 4, we pull up a loop again, and we chain one and slip stitch in the same stitch, and make 2 double crochet in the next stitch, slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, and make 2 double crochet in the next stitch, and slip stitch in the last stitch. And cut the yarn and fasten off. So now we've just got the last row to do, so row 5. So chain one, slip stitch in the same stitch, two double crochet in the next stitch, and slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. And then we fasten off. So we've done all of our feathers now. So I've got bad news for people who don't like sewing, because we've now got to sew in all of these ends. So you can push those double crochet stitches out from the inside so that they take their shape more. So we're going to weave all of these tails in on both ends. So the short tail from the start and the long tail at the end. And we're just going to go into the back of the stitches on the underside. And then we trim the yarn close to the work. So we're going to leave the tail that we left at the end to use that to sew the wing on. Okay, so I've pinned all of the pieces in place. So I'm going to show you how I sew the eyes on. So I pick up loops from the beige, and then I pick up loops from the underside of those half double crochet stitches. So I'm not sewing around the edge of the eye, going through both loops, because that would be more visible and make it more flat. So I'm sewing on the underneath part, so the edge is left free. And I just sew all the way around, and it helps to pin all of the pieces in place before you start, so that you know where everything is in relation to one another. So to fasten off, we're going to go through a loop, but we're not going to pull through all the way. We're going to go through that loop from behind and pull tight to make a knot, and then we weave through to the inside of the bowl. So sew the other eye on exactly the same way, and then we'll take the nose, and we're going to use the tail from the magic ring to sew those edges together. So we're going through both loops so that we're sewing it closed. And then we're going to sew the nose on in a straight line by picking up those beige loops and then going through the underside of the nose on the back. And we can tie those two ends together in a knot and weave both of them through to the inside. And you can trim those ends. So now we're going to sew the eyebrows on. I'm going to sew the underside on first using those remaining loops from the foundation chain and just picking up beige loops above the eye. And then when we get to the end, we're going to leave a little bit unsewn and we're going to go back down the opposite direction and we're going to find loops from the back of the stitches in the middle and we're going to go through loops from the surface of those single crochet stitches on the last round of the main piece. And then we fasten off in the same way as usual and weave through to the inside. And then we sew the other eyebrow on in exactly the same way. Then we're going to sew the wings 7 rounds down from the top edge of the bowl. And we're going to go through those chain loops and picking up loops from the beige. And we're going to angle that end piece down a bit. So we're going in a straight line and then we just angle that down so that it's a slight curve. We start going down to the rounds below. And then we can lift the wing up and find a loop on the underside to fasten off around. And we weave that through to the inside and then sew the other one on the opposite side. So there we have it, we've finished our owl themed bowl. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I'd love to see a photo of your owl bowl. You can share it with me by tagging me on Instagram at Laura_Wilson01. If you'd like to check out my Etsy shop, I design and sell crochet patterns. My shop is called Laura Wilson Designs. I'll leave a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.